let's talk about being a millennial for a second, because I'm becoming more and more annoyed and more bothered by the label millennial, because it's almost it's becoming more and more of a derogatory term the further I go, because it's based on a series of assumptions that young people of my generation, the millennial generation, we don't like to work, we are all entitled, we are oblivious to how life actually works, we don't want to be told what to do, we march to our own drum, we rebel against authority, we won't listen to people that know more than we do, we are overzealous, we don't have good sense, whole 9 yards. And instead of saying, oh, that's just how young people are, because young people have always been like that throughout history, young people have always been that way, we're saying, oh no, it is not, not just the way youth and young people are across the board, it's just the way you millennials are. So here's the thing about the millennial problem, which I am one. I'm 26, going to be 27 in March. So here's the thing. We didn't come out of the sky, okay? We didn't raise ourselves. We are not the product of some weird experiment of like aliens from outer space that just dropped us into the earth just to see how you all would like us. If you don't like how a group of people or a generation is acting or presenting themselves in the world, it is a reflection of training. It is a reflection of parenting. It is a reflection of the environment that that group within that generation, within that nation, or within that society came up out of. And I'll tell you the reason why. Sure, are there things about us as a generation of young people that we, could improve upon? Absolutely. Are we overzealous? Absolutely. Do we like to be told what to do? Not really. Do we have a tendency to not listen to those that are in authority in our lives? Do we not have a work ethic? I'm not arguing against any of those points. I am making the point that, one, if that is the case, that is a result of how we have been taught. So instead of looking at the millennial generation as the issue, we need to take a step back and look at the parents of the millennials. We need to start there. Who were the parents of these millennials? So who trained them? What was their training like? What were their parents like? Let's start at the beginning. That's where my thoughts are. And I'll give you the reason why. I was born in the Bronx, and I was raised in New York. Depending on who you are, you can probably tell by my accent. Most people can't. Most people don't really know where I'm from. I kind of like that. But I was raised in the Bronx. And so there's a lot of stereotypical ideas placed around you when you are an African-American kid from the Bronx. There are just ways that they assume that you're going to act. There's a certain demeanor that they assume that you're going to have. And but my parents, I have the best mom and dad in the world, they refused to let that be my narrative. So I was taught respect for authority. I was taught a work ethic. I was taught chores. To this very day, I am 26. I'm going to be 27 in March. And to this day, if there is an adult, I don't even consider myself an adult fully, if that helps you to understand. If there is an adult that I come across that is at 35, 40 years old or older, I refer to them as sir and ma'am. I refer to women and men in general, whether they're older than me or not, as sir or ma'am, because that's how I was taught to do. I love learning from people that know more than me. I love gleaning from elders. I love all of that. Okay? And I am a millennial, and I believe in working hard, and I also believe in discipline, and I also believe in grinding, and I also believe in taking the stairs instead of the elevator. And I am 26 years old. So to just blanket statements and stereotypes and assumptions on an entire group of people based on the actions of a few is really not smart. And here's the thing is the more you talk about, everything is energy. And the more you talk about, whatever you talk about, whatever you think about, whatever you focus on is going to grow. And so if you are constantly talking about and magnifying the millennial problem, these millennials, here's the thing. If all it took was the generations of past to bring the earth where it was supposed to be and to change the world, we wouldn't be here. So you're really just shooting yourself in the foot when you're adopting and accepting and coining all of these statements about millennials. And here's another thing too. If you look at what a millennial is, technically there are a whole lot more people that qualify to be considered a millennial than will admit to it. I can't tell you how many people I have talked to that fit within technically the millennial age bracket that refuse to be identified as a millennial because of all the stigmas that are attached to it. So that lets you know it's a problem. If we're going to see change in this world, and I don't know if you know this or not, I hate to be the first one to tell you, but I'm going to tell you because you need to know, this world is in a very dire situation right now. Okay? We have never been at the kind of point in history that we're at right now. So if we have a prayer of seeing any hope of any kind of change happening in this world, it is going to require both male and female expressions of God. It's going to require the younger generation and the older generation working together like pieces of a puzzle so that we can help change the world, because the world is in crisis. It's not a matter of which generation is better. And here's another thing too that they assume all millennials do. All millennials assume that the older generations are old-fashioned and they don't want anything to do with, the old-fashioned way of things. That's not true, because I am a millennial and I have several friends that are also millennials, and we were raised old school and we love the older traditions of things. I'm a church kid. I've been in church all my life, and I love the hymns. I love the older songs. I love listening to older ministers, older well-seasoned ministers that are further along than I am. Like, I love that. So I don't. So these assumptions, the only thing that they're doing is enlarging and propagating and promoting division. That's the only thing that this is doing. And if we're going to keep doing this, then we might as well just promote division in other ways. With race and gender, we might as well just add all of that in there, because it's literally the same thing and it's not helping us as a society. What we need to do is come together. The younger generation and the older generation coming together, sitting down and conversing with one another, exchanging ideas, exchanging thoughts, exchanging the benefits that each generation has that the other one doesn't. As the older generation, which I do love and most millennials do love, I personally do not do well. I don't believe in making my own mistakes. I believe in learning from the mistakes that people who have gone before me have made, so that I don't have to make my own mistakes. If you've jumped off a cliff and by the mercy of God survived, but you scarred up your entire body and you have broken bones and ribs and your lungs have been punctured because of all the rocks that you crashed on or whatever, and you tell me don't jump off the cliff because you're going to hurt yourself, I believe you. I don't want to have to experience that myself. I'm not the one I've got to make my own mistakes. I don't like that. And that is not a mantra of mine. I do have mantras. That is not one of them. I don't believe in making my own mistakes. I believe in learning from the mistakes of people that have gone before me, so I don't have to make them. It's to make the generations that come before us are to make us in the current generation's lives that much more easier. I believe that. So that's my stand with that. Bringing both generations together. So the older generation, you have the wisdom, you have the experience, seen things that I have never seen, that we have never seen, and that we really do want to know. We are not as oblivious to the reality of our own ignorance as you think we are. We are very aware that we don't know what we're doing, but here's the thing, that's not a millennial issue. That is a young people issue. Young people have always thought that they were more competent and capable and knowledgeable and experienced than they really are. Like, that has been the history. That's always been how young people have been, until you get older, and then that's when you realize that you don't know anything. So let's just not tag it as this particular generation of young people. Yes, we have more technology than generations of past have had. But the only thing that technology is doing is showing up the dysfunctions that have always been in the earth. That's the only thing technology is doing. Technology is not a demon. Technology is not creating young people. Technology is just showcasing our dysfunction as a society. That's the only thing that technology is doing. So let's not use that either. Technology is not the enemy. The enemy is how we as a society are coming up and the dysfunctional patterns that we have as a society. Technology is only showing that up. Be sure we're clear on that. So yes, we have more technology. Yes, we tend to be more ambitious than we should be. We tend to move out a whole lot quicker in things than we should. Give you all of that. As elders and as older generations, you're very aware of that. So bring that to the table. But we also have things that you all need. As a younger generation, we have the zeal, we have the energy, we have the desire to do it. As a generation, we have a bigger desire to impact and change the world around us. And we know that we can make a difference. And because of the technology, there is more resources available so that we can do that. So we're bringing that passion, that zeal, help lighting a fire under older generations, not pushing them aside. That's not what we're after. You know, they say, millennials just want the older people to get out of the way so that they can step up. No, we want to work alongside of previous generations, but we don't want to have to wait until you die before we do anything either. It's not a matter of you leaving so that we can, step up, nor is it you keeping us locked in a closet until you die. It's us both coming together, both generations, both genders, all cultures coming together to achieve a desired end, and that is to reform the world and transform lives both in our communities, in our societies, and in the world, so that life can be a whole lot better than it is right now. So those are my thoughts about that.